You slide out of your mother, somewhere in the Arctic, and your sibling follows a few minutes later, with both of you pressing into her fur and pulling at her body for milk. You're blind and can't see anything around you, so you stay close to her with your legs pushing against the ground trying to find grip. She curls her body around you and your sibling, and the two of you stay like that for days, feeding and sleeping while she stays still. 2 weeks pass, and your eyes open for the first time. The den is small, with white walls packed tight on every side and a low ceiling just above your mother's back. Your sibling is pressed against you, bigger than you by a small amount, and your mother takes up most of the space with her body stretched across the floor. A few weeks later, your mother stands and pushes her head into the wall at the far end of the den, forcing the packed snow apart with her skull until a gap opens up and light comes through. She squeezes her body through first, and you and your sibling follow her out into the open. That's the first time you see the world. White ground stretches out in every direction, flat and wide, with a pale sky sitting above it. You take a few steps forward with your legs sinking into the surface and your body dropping low before you find your balance. Then your mother's head lifts fast and she steps in front of you and your sibling, placing her body between you and something farther out. A large male polar bear is walking toward the den with his head low and his steps slow and steady. Your mother walks straight at him and he stops. She keeps walking until he turns and moves away. Then she comes back, stands beside you both, and starts moving away from the den. You follow her, and your sibling follows you. You're a few months old now, and your mother has been walking you and your sibling across the sea ice for days, moving from one stretch to the next with her head dropping low every time she stops. She's looking for seals. Seals breathe through holes in the ice, and when one comes up for air, that's when she moves. She finds a hole and stops a few body lengths away from it, then lowers herself flat onto the ice and stays completely still with her eyes fixed on the opening. You and your sibling stay back behind her, watching. A few minutes pass, and then a seal's head comes up through the hole and your mother drives forward with her front legs pushing hard against the ice, and her full weight coming down on the seal before it can go back under. She pulls it out onto the surface and holds it down. That's your first real meal. The three of you feed together, and it's the first time you've eaten anything other than milk. Then the ice below your sibling cracks and splits apart, dropping them straight into the water below. Your sibling's legs kick hard against the surface, trying to find grip, but the edge keeps breaking away. Your mother moves to the gap and reaches her front leg down into the water, hooking her leg under your sibling's body and dragging them back up onto the ice. Your sibling stands and shakes the water off, and your mother checks them over by pushing her nose along their back and sides. But the ice keeps splitting further out in every direction, with wide gaps opening up between the sections and the solid ground getting smaller. Your mother turns toward the land in the distance and starts walking. The ice is pulling apart under you, and the land is still far away. And when you finally reach it, everything your mother knows how to do out here will stop working. You're 1 year old now, and the ice is gone. Your mother has been moving you and your sibling along the land, stopping to dig into the ground with her front claws and pull up roots and bulbs from below the surface. You watch her do it, then dig at the same spot with your own claws, pulling up whatever is left. It's not much, but your body can use it. That's something a full polar bear can't do. Their stomachs aren't built for plants the way yours is. A few days later, your mother stops at a river and wades in with her eyes fixed on the water below her. She stands still for a moment, then drives her head under the surface and comes back up with a fish locked in her jaws. She carries it to the bank and drops it, and the three of you feed from it together. You're getting better at following her lead, copying each thing she does a little more closely each time. Then you come across something you haven't seen before. A grizzly bear mother and her 2 cubs are feeding on the far side of the river, pulling at the ground and moving slowly along the bank. Your mother stops and stands up on her back legs with her full height showing, and the grizzly mother does the same across the water. The 2 of them hold that position for a long stretch, each one watching the other. Then the grizzly drops back down and walks her cubs away along the bank. But you don't move straight away. You stay watching the direction the grizzly cubs went, with your eyes following them longer than they need to. Your mother turns and walks on, and you follow her. You've handled land better than expected, but this coming season, your mother won't always be there to step in front of you. You're 2.5 years old now, and your mother drives you away on a wide stretch of open ground, walking at you with her full weight pushing forward until you and your sibling back up and keep backing up. She follows until the distance between you is too wide to close. Then she turns and walks the other way. That's it. She's done raising you. You and your siblings stay together and move along the tree line, digging for roots and following rivers to fish the way your mother showed you. It works well enough for a few weeks. Then a large male grizzly comes out of the trees and walks straight toward the 2 of you with his head low and his body angled forward. You both back away, but your sibling moves sideways toward a gap in the tree line, trying to get around him. The grizzly turns and runs at your sibling, cutting between you with his full body so the 2 of you split in different directions. By the time the grizzly stops running, your sibling has gone into the trees and you're alone on the open ground. That's the last time you see your sibling. Now you need to work out how to do this alone. You need to eat, so you move toward a river and wade in up to your chest with your eyes fixed on the water below you, the way your mother did. You drive your head under and come up with a fish. Then you do it again. You're good at this, better than you expected. A few days later, you need to cross a wide stretch of open water between 2 banks, so you push in and swim with your legs pulling through the water steadily, covering the distance without stopping. That's your polar bear side. You can go further in water than any grizzly you'll ever meet. You've figured out how to feed yourself and cross ground that stops other bears. But holding a stretch of land as your own is a different problem, and you'll need to solve it soon. You're 5 years old now, and you've found a stretch of coastline where the land meets the water, and both worlds sit right next to each other. There's a river running through it, forest on one side, and open ground leading to the coast on the other. You need to mark it as yours, so you walk the full edge of it with your body pressed against the tree trunks as you pass, scraping your back along the bark to leave your mark at a height that most bears can't reach. That height alone tells any bear who passes through exactly how big you are. A few days pass, and a grizzly male comes through the tree line and walks toward the river without slowing down. You need him to know this ground is taken, so you walk straight toward him with your full weight forward and your head low. He stops and stands up on his back legs to measure you, and you do the same. You're bigger than him. He drops back down and holds his position for a moment, trying to decide, then turns and walks back into the trees. That's the first time you've held ground on your own. But a week later, a second grizzly finds a caribou carcass near the riverbank and gets to it before you do. You need that food, so you walk toward him with your head low, but he spins around and drives at you fast enough that you turn and move away along the bank. He's older and heavier, and he holds the carcass until there's nothing left. You walk away with your stomach empty. You won the first one and lost the second. That's how it goes out here. But you're still growing. In a few more years, there won't be many bears on this coastline that can back you down. You're 8 years old now, and you've held this stretch of coastline for 3 years without losing it. Then one morning, a female Grolar bear walks out of the tree line and onto your ground, moving along the bank with her head down and her body angled away from you. That's the first one of your kind you've seen since your sibling disappeared. You walk toward her slowly with your head low, and your body turns slightly to the side, giving her room to stay. She stops and watches you move toward her, then drops her head and goes back to feeding along the bank. You stay nearby and feed alongside her, keeping enough distance that she doesn't move away. She stays for 3 days. Then on the 4th day, a large male Grolar bear comes out of the trees from the north end of your territory, with his full weight pushing forward and his head low, walking straight toward the female without slowing down. You need to stop him before he reaches her, so you put yourself between them and walk directly at him with your body at full height. He doesn't stop, so the two of you meet on open ground and slam together with your front legs driving hard into the dirt, and your bodies pushing against each other for footing. He's heavier across the shoulders than you, and he pushes you back 2 steps before you dig in and hold. Then you drive your head under his jaw and twist your full weight into his chest, knocking him off balance so his front legs spread wide and his body drops lower. That's the opening you need, so you push forward hard and drive him down onto his side. He gets back up and stands still for a moment, then turns and walks back north into the tree line. You're bleeding from a cut above your eye where his claws caught you, but you stay standing on the open ground. The female walks over and starts feeding nearby like nothing happened. She doesn't leave after that. You're 11 years old now, and the female has given birth to 2 cubs inside a den at the edge of your territory. Your job right now is to keep the ground around that den clear, so you walk the full boundary of your range every few days with your body pressing against trees as you pass, and your claws dragging marks into the bark above your head. Then the ice that usually builds up along your stretch of coast arrives thinner than it has before, and breaks apart before it gets solid enough to walk on. You need seals to build up enough weight to carry you through the harder weeks ahead, so you push further along the coast, trying to find a section where the ice is holding. It isn't. You turn inland instead and push deeper into grizzly territory than you've gone before, working the rivers and digging for whatever the ground gives up. That's when you run into a grizzly male on a riverbank who is already feeding on a salmon run. You need that food, so you walk toward him with your full weight forward. He stands his ground and drives at you, and the two of you slam together on the bank with your claws pulling at each other and your bodies pushing for footing on the wet ground. You get the better of him, and he pulls away, moving further up the river and leaving the lower stretch to you. You feed well for the first time in weeks, but 3 days later, a second grizzly pushes you off a carcass on open ground, and you walk away without a fight. You can't afford an injury right now. The cubs need you on your feet. A few weeks later, the female brings the cubs out of the den for the first time, and both of them take their first steps on open ground. What they're walking into is a harder world than the one you were born into, and they're going to need everything you've built here to survive it. You're 16 years old now, and the coast you've held for over a decade has less ice on it every season. You need seals to carry enough weight through the harder months. So each season you push further along the shoreline trying to find ice solid enough to hunt from. This season, there isn't any. You turn inland and push deep into grizzly territory, further than you've ever gone, with your body already carrying less weight than it should. You find a river with a salmon run and feed there for a few days, driving off 2 younger grizzlies who try to move in on the same stretch of bank. But on the 3rd day, a larger male arrives and holds the upper section of the river, cutting off the best part of the run. You need the food, so you walk toward him, and the two of you collide hard on the bank with your bodies pushing against each other and your claws pulling for grip on the wet ground. He's heavier than you expected, and he drives you back step by step until your back leg drops off the edge of the bank and your body twists sideways. You pull yourself up and walk away downstream, feeding on what's left at the lower end. A few days later, you're moving along a narrow stretch of riverbank when 3 young male grizzlies come out of the tree line together, spreading across the bank and cutting off the ground in front of you and behind you. You drive forward into the one blocking your path and knock him sideways into the water, trying to break through. But the second one hits you from the side with his full weight, and the third drives into you from behind before you can turn, taking your back legs out from under you and sending your body down onto the bank. You try to get your legs under you, but they don't lift. The river pulls at your body and carries you slowly out from the bank. Your cubs are still on that coastline, and what you built there will keep them alive long after you're gone.